Tonight, we assess what is needed to get leadership right ahead of 2023 presidential election. We speak on issues of financing and expectations from Nigerians as they decide to elect who becomes Nigeria's #1 citizen. And today, Mr. Ralph Nwosu has been replaced as the ADC national chairman amidst the internal squabbles in the party. We'll be listening to the presidential candidate of the party, Mr. Nwosu, and some members of the NWC said is suspended last week. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Abuja. Let's begin tonight by continue our countdown on the ASUU strike. It is 204 days since the university lecturers went on strike. The demands by the lecturers continue, and they have shut the classrooms for lectures. The federal government has asked the Ministry of Education to intervene in this matter, but it doesn't look like the talks are concluded yet, as the lecturers are still away from the classroom, keeping the students away from their classroom for over 200 days. It's 204 days since ASUU began the indefinite strike action, and we're hoping that this strike action, something that's become a national embarrassment, will end very soon. Tonight, you might be asking a very big question. We have about at least 15 presidential candidates and several other positions to be filled in the 2023 general elections. The big question is, who is the best fit for some of these roles? Is it the president or vice president, or the governor in each of the states, or the National Assembly, the 109 seats in the Senate and 360 seats in the House of Representatives? One thing that every Nigerian may agree today is the need that Nigeria needs to move forward. The solution to our security, electricity, and economic challenges are what a lot of people are looking forward to. We touch on all of those issues tonight on the program. Plus, we'll be speaking with a presidential candidate of the ADC on the internal issues in the party and the possible solutions. We heard from Mr. Nwosu, and tonight we'll be hearing from the other side. Stay with me, everyone, but first, let's check out with some of your stories on our political roundup.
Leaders and other members of the All Progressives Congress in Delta State Senatorial District have pledged their support for a more united APC in order to wrestle power from the ruling People's Democratic Party in the state. The Deputy Senate President and governorship candidate of the APC, Senator Ovie Omoagege, who was also present at a meeting hosted by the Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Keyamo, also bore his mind on the party's Muslim ticket, expressing confidence that the party will win all elections come 2023.
It is only fair and just and equitable that power should rotate back here to the south.
Chairman of the All Progressives Congress at Adamawa State, Ibrahim Bilal, has been impeached over what is described as gross abuse of office, dereliction of duty, among others. 25 members of the NEC also unanimously endorsed the deputy chairman, Samaila Tadawus, and he was sworn in as the acting chairman in a ceremony at the party secretariat in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. The newly sworn in acting chairman vows to reconcile all aggrieved members and focus the party on victory in the coming general elections.
We, the concerned and designing ESCO, desirous of restoring the lost glory of the party.
The purported expulsion of the factional candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last ASUU governorship election, Dotun Babayemi, has been described as mere fabrications by external forces and usurpation of the constitution of the party. Some persons claim to be the executive of the PDP from Otumba Logun Ward 2 in Aida at a press conference recently accused Babayemi of anti-party activities and subsequently pronounced his expulsion from the party. Against the development, different members and executives of the PDP at the ward who claimed to be duly elected members converged for a press conference at the PDP local government secretariat in Gbogo in reaction to the purported expulsion of Babayemi. The members berated the actions of those who instituted the disciplinary action and expulsion against Mr. Dotun Babayemi, describing the exercise as illegal. A coalition of civil society organizations in Abuja are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to strengthen its information and technology department ahead of the 2023 general elections in order to prevent any compromise in the transmission of results. The group told journalists at a news conference in Abuja that the confidence of electorate could be eroded if the integrity of the ICT department of the electoral umpire is compromised.
In order to regain the confidence of the electorate, INEC should look into the composition, integrity, and credibility of the ICT personnel in the department to ensure that there are no lapses as Nigeria concentrates on the gains so far achieved through the use of the BVAS.
And President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, is asking Yobe residents to continue to support federal government's policies and programs in order to reap more dividends of democracy. Lawan made a call at his hometown of Gashua in Yobe State at a grand reception organized in his honor by the state government and civil society groups.
You made it possible. If you didn't elect me in 2019, I wouldn't have been the Senate President. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So over the last few days, there have been conversations around whether or not political parties can get funded from abroad. Well, Nigerians in diaspora, how much of contributions can they make into the electoral process? Well, beyond all of these issues is what the law says, the stand of the law in some of these issues, and there are clear provisions of the law in Section 225 of the Constitution, Section 85, 88 of the Electoral Act 2022. These are clear provisions of the law and the guide as to how political parties can operate. In fact, the role of INEC in all of this, the audit process, and if you get this funding, can you spend it? If you spend it, what are the consequences of some of these issues? So we'll touch on that just in a moment. But beyond that is how do you, as a citizen, make the right choice of who become the next president of Nigeria? Can you afford to make a wrong choice? And what choices are before you as Nigerians that when you're going to the polls, what gives you the confidence that you're electing the right person? A lot of people will say leadership is a major problem in the country. And perhaps if you get it right, we might be the best that we have dreamt to be. Tonight, we're speaking with my first guest on the program, who is joining us virtually from Boston in the United States. Well, he will be joining us in a moment, but let's get to talk about a few other issues before we get to bring him on the program. Yesterday, we put a spotlight on the happenings in the African Democratic Congress, ADC. The party, they're saying a lot of troubles in the past days. First and foremost was what happened on Friday when the party, through some of its National Working Committee, suspended Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu, the presidential candidate of the party. Now, we realize that there are a lot of dimensions to the matter. Now, the side of Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu is the fact that these persons that have suspended him are not even in office, according to him. And there are those who are the chairman of the party across the state who are also saying the tenure of these people have expired. Now, we heard from Mr. Nwosu, who says you cannot calculate from 2005 since they assumed office. You can only calculate from 2018 since the party got a new shape and color. Now, today, there was a major decision made by the NEC that was constituted and led by the chairman of the party across the state, since, according to them, there is no substantive or statutory National Working Committee operating as of today. And so they said they've removed and replaced Mr. Raf Unwo. So let's take a listen to their resolution today.
Campaign is starting on the 28th of this very month. So we need to have put our house in order. That's why few of us come together and we call for this emergency NEC meeting in order to choose the caretaker committees that we will give only 6 weeks, no more than 6. Within now and 6 weeks, they must conduct a constitutional national convention.
We cannot afford any division, and the legally legally elected body, now the NEC, had to wade into this crisis when we had this crisis. And the way forward is what they have professed now. You know, they have now appointed a caretaker committee for ADC so that the two warring parties can shield their swords and let us find a solution to this problem.
All right, you heard the meeting held today by members and leaders of the ADC. Where does the party go from here? Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu is live with us here in the studio, the presidential candidate of the ADC. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Right. Because of the instability with the technical issues relating to virtual connection, I would love to take Professor Chidi Odikalu. I don't know if Professor Chidi Odikalu is with us now. Prof, can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Oh,
do
great.
You hear me?
Great, I can hear you now. Professor Chidi Odikalu, the former chairman of the NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, and a lawyer. Thank you so much indeed, Prof, for joining us tonight on the program. Let's begin the conversation. It's about the expectations of Nigerians. And you've been around far longer than I have been in this country. And by estimation, Nigeria is just about 20 years older than me or thereabouts. So for those of you who are almost age mates with the country, you can almost tell so much about his political history. Has there been a year that Nigerians have anticipated an election, the intensity of expectations Nigerians have towards the 2023 election and the hopes and aspirations they hold towards this election? How do you describe it, and what do you make of this dispensation and the expectations of Nigerians?
Well, first of all, I've not been nearly around as long as you give me credit. I only qualified to vote in Nigeria after the military left, actually, sadly. Let me, I think every election cycle is unique for obvious reasons. Those who remember 1979 will remember it for different reasons. 1983 is remembered for the NPN landslide. You had what went on during the military, defined by the anticipation of seeing off the military. And so every election cycle is unique. I think what defines the forthcoming election is the fact that this is for many people, I think there'll be different factors. First of all, 2023 is the first time since 1999 that a retired general will not be on the ballot. And that's a very good thing. Second of all, it is the first time since 2003 that Muhammadu Buhari will not be on the ballot. That creates a lot of curveballs as we speak. Thirdly, it is the 2023 election will be defined by the departure of General Buhari and the class of 1966 from Nigerian politics, with all the implications that entails. So there'll be a lot of things into that election. I'm not even beginning to talk about the issues yet, but just where we're coming from before we get to where we could be going in 2023.
All right, Prof, I'll take a pause for about a minute or two. We just need to make adjustments to the framing of your device there so that it can fit the framing as required by the channel standard for TV viewing because the conversation will get so interesting that people like to see your face other than the picture that we're seeing right now. So I'll just allow 2 minutes for the producers to get that done. Then I'll come back to you. Stay with me, Prof. Let's just adjust the setting and we'll be back. Let me come to you, Mr. Kachikwu. You were suspended on Friday as a presidential candidate. I mean, as a member of your party. I'm not sure that you were suspended as a presidential candidate, but you were suspended as the member of your party. As of today, what is the status of things?
I was never suspended as a member of the party. There was a document, an unsigned document that we saw in sections of the media, and no one took ownership of it till last night when the former chairman of the party said that they were behind the document. So I don't know why they didn't sign it. But the NWC, their tenure elapsed over a week ago, and they had no locus, no basis to sign any document or to issue any document on behalf of the party. The reason why they didn't sign that document, obviously, was because they knew that they could be charged for impersonation. That's why they didn't. So I was never suspended. It's just a media gimmick. They felt if we're leaving, let's pull the house down or, try and damage my chances. But like I've said to all ADC party members, they've given us good media time. We are in the eye of Nigerians talking about ADC, which is good for us. So there's good out of this.
There are a few issues that were raised, questions on your person and the ticket and your mandate. They've said you've traveled more than 4 times in the last month or so, and that you have not settled in to prepare a document. You have not settled in to get serious about running for office. And these are some of the fears Mr. Nwosu expressed on the program yesterday. Have you gotten set, or have you been able to sit down and articulate your idea to run for this race?
I'll tell you this, right? I think I'm about the most prepared candidate in the race. You must understand what's happening with Nwosu and his ilks. They are used to politics where they milk candidates. So they expected me to come into the party, emerge as a candidate, and bring in stolen billions of naira that they will use to buy jeeps and what have you for themselves. Immediately after I won, I had a meeting with the party, set an agenda for ourselves. We'll have 3 months of, before the campaigns kick off. And what should we do right now, okay? What does the party need to do to get prepared? First of all, I emerged and realized the party had no real structure to run on. So we said we need to start building these structures across board so that the party can run the race. What must we do, right? And I gave these guys a budget and said, work from answer to question. Let's get these things done. They couldn't come up with a budget. What Nwosu wanted was a situation where he gets money and he just appropriates money and he calls the accountant officer on the phone and says, oh, do this, do that. And the party and the members of the NWC made very clear to me, you must not release any money to this man, because if you release money to this man, nothing is going to happen. So I totally refused to release money to him. And the issue he's had with me is because he didn't have opportunity to fleece me. That's all. That's one of the major reasons, So
it's something personal also, because
it was just a personal issue.
Because I asked him whether this is personal. He said it wasn't personal.
Trust me.
But the fact that you are not behaving like a fit and proper presidential candidate.
You will, in every video you've seen of Nwosu tells the world that this is the best candidate ever. But behind the scenes, he kept on asking, telling people, telling you, he doesn't want to give me money, doesn't want to give me money. Do you understand?
So let's clarify this now.
Yeah.
The chairman of your party was on the program yesterday, and he said there were some amounts that was requested from you. Is it true that you were asked to drop a certain amount of money?
Yes, and I refused.
How much was that?
It came from 2 billion to 500 million naira on the day of the convention. And he called me in a meeting, he was there with the BOT chairman, and he said, listen, from what we see here, these delegates are here for you, but I won't let you proceed until you bring this amount of money. And I called his bluff and I walked out. I'm not desperate to be your flag bearer to President of Nigeria that you have to blackmail me and say, bring this amount of money. And I refused. So that's what, and he kept on, he used his mouth to complain to other people that I refused to give him that money, which is, he told that, I never discussed with the chairman or chairman. He told him, all the people he complains to, he says, I don't want to bring money. And there wasn't that, I don't understand, after 17 years, you do this every election cycle and it doesn't come to an end. But tell you what, the party has reached a landing today. I'm happy that the chairman and the NEC were able to bring in a caretaker committee, so the party now has to heal. Once it's no longer the issue or the factor on the party, if you look at Nwosu's bad sides, you must also look at his good sides, because you must understand that in the 17 years, we have election cycles every 4 years, but in the interim, we don't have elections. Someone has to pay the bill. Someone has to carry that burden, and he carried that burden those years, and he only gets to make money during the fourth year when you have elections. So you must also respect that, which is why I don't really want to make Nwosu the issue. The party needs to heal now. We need to focus on our campaigns, focus on the issues bedeviling Nigerians.
You know what some members of your party are saying?
What?
That the party looked good. That's why you joined. You saw a platform beautiful enough for you to further your ambition. You joined. Mr. Nwosu was a landlord. He was a founder of the party. You joined the party. And that you scripted or conscripted to remove him from the house he built. Those were some of the allegations against you.
This is a good question and a funny question. First of all, a party is an association of the willing. A party does not belong to a landlord or one person. That's against the law. That's totally undemocratic. So as long as you pay your dues, you have an equal share in that party. Nwosu doesn't own the party. He might have been the founding father of the party, but he doesn't own the party. Number two, the party looked beautiful, like you said, which made me come in. I will tell you, it took 3 months for them to convince me to come into that party. And yes, I came in, and yes, you will not find a perfect party in Nigeria. So you see, the front page news, all the parties have issues, but I came in determined to build and take this party to the next step. This party did something for me that you must understand. We had major people running the race in this party, and this same party gave me free and fair elections. So I owe it to this same party to defend the constitution of that party, to defend the smaller people, those people who bring in their money to the party, they want to run a race, and they have no voice to speak for them. I need to be their voice.
Was Honorable Abejide present at that meeting today?
Leke? No, I don't believe. I'm not part of the meeting, so I don't know if he was in the meeting or not.
Okay.
But I don't believe it.
Because that's probably the highest ranking elected officials of your party.
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, that means something. He's a NEC, traditionally or naturally a NEC member of your party.
I understand that he was out of town, but he's back in town this evening.
Are you in touch with him?
Yes, of course.
Is he on your side?
He definitely is against sit-tight dictatorship. He and I have spoken. He definitely cannot understand why anyone will sit in the same seat for 17 years. He's a true Democrat. I mean, if you know his antecedents, you know that it's not something he can even entertain.
So is it true that money has played a lot of role in your party? That determined a lot of positions, in fact, your ticket. Is it true?
Absolutely. You heard what I said. I said to you, money was demanded of me, and I walked out. I walked out on
You know the background to this question?
What?
You have established tonight that there is a culture of trading the future of the party for money.
That's a different...
In the past.
Yeah,
now, so the question is, there is that culture, according to you, from what you have claimed tonight. And so the question now is that, did that play a role in your emergence too? Because there was an allegation against you also from Professor Mahalu about a similar thing.
There was an allegation against Ralph and not against me. And let me clarify this. Smaller parties, as we know in our climate, typically election season, they come together to support a bigger party. And what they do is they collect money from these bigger parties, okay? So they are all complicit. Most of them are complicit in this. And our party has had this dubious history, right? So
when election comes,
So
the party candidate steps down for the bigger party in exchange for money. Is that what plays out?
No, it's not that the candidate steps down. The party owns the structure. They own the party structure across the country. So they don't even need you to step down. All they have to do is to tell the party agents across the country, we are supporting this person, right? So I saw the interview yesterday where you talked about the late Meliafa and what happened to him, right? And you heard him saying that, they came together in an alliance and said, we'll go with the best candidate of the better party. So this is so anti-democratic. This is what has been done. And I have people also discussing this all the time. And I have down ballot candidates, all they're asking is, please protect our mandate. Don't let the party sell our mandate because we want to run our race. And this is what I made clear to Wons. So I said, this party, under my watch as the presidential candidate, will not sell the mandate of any candidate. We'll run our race. I said to the candidates, tell you what, even if you have just one vote, the experience is worth it. Pick yourself up, prepare to run the race again. Don't trade your mandate. It's a treasure, a cherished mandate.
No, because, there were, during the primaries, even members of those parties that had this issue, talk about how money exchange hands for delegates' votes and all of that, perhaps how dollar play roles and those issues. There are those talks also that in your party, there were purchases of votes. And that, in fact, it was said here yesterday that you were the one who had the deepest pocket, and that's how you got the ticket.
I can assure you, and you and I have had this conversation, I think 2 times, I can assure you that I am the last candidate who will pay for votes. I do my work in the field with the delegates who I seek to represent, who I represent here today, I represent their mandate here today. I didn't need to spend money on anyone because I speak their mind on all issues.
So you didn't give any money to any delegate?
Absolutely not.
You didn't lobby them in any way?
Lobby them is you speak to them, you speak to their issues, you speak to their consciousness, you speak to their consciences, and that's what I did. And everyone,
you didn't house them for the primaries?
All candidates, all aspirants, house the candidates. So remember what happened. Our convention was in Abeokuta. 95% of the delegates to our convention are people who probably earn below 50,000 naira monthly, who couldn't even afford to get to Abeokuta. Those were the delegates to our convention. Our party could not afford to bus one candidate to our convention. Our constitution stipulated the mandatory number of people to make the convention valid. So what did the candidates do? The candidates started arranging for these people to get there, irrespective
the logistics
of
transportation, and accommodation and stipends.
No stipends, just accommodation.
From your own point of view,
I don't know.
You say you did not pay.
I don't know.
So you are unable to tell whether or not others paid.
What other people did, but we bussed people there, right? The night before the convention, we were having the pre-convention dinner. I remember telling delegates there, I said, listen, I want to be clear, because I came in there and these people were like, we are here for you. And I remember saying clearly, understand that I am the candidate who doesn't have any money to give you. And people walked out on me. Some people were crying. We came all the way here. So look at what happened in PDP and APC. How can you say you can go to anything? We're poor people. And I said, but this is not who we are. This is not what our party stands for. We can't do this. We had about 1,380 people in the hall that day who came there and saying that they were there for me. When the votes were counted, about 990 people voted. I lost about 400 people who didn't vote for me because I refused to part with money.
So your opponent paid?
I am not here to say or know what my opponent did. I'm speaking about my own campaign and what happened. So that's what happened. But we've since moved beyond the primaries. I'm happy to say that ADC today stands united. We've moved past the issue of the last 1 week. I'm going to meet with Ralph Wonsu tomorrow. I know that they are going to be, I know it's still going to be sore from what has happened, but we still need to heal our party, have everyone united as we move into the campaigns. His experience, 17 years of being the party chairman, is needed in our campaign right now. And the former NWC, most of them, I think about 90% of them are still contesting in the convention that is coming. So the historical memory is still there, the experience is still there. So I think a party will have come out from this much stronger. And like I said to you earlier on, we've got good airtime from media organizations like yours. So we're in a very, very good place.
So for you, bad press is good press.
Any
no matter
press,
what is
any saying. Press is
you've been out. Your party is being out for the wrong reasons.
Any press is good press in a political season, especially when the media looks at smaller parties or less known parties like ours and does not give us the same.
Because you know the anger is, I mean, for people who think that maybe the bigger parties are culprit in some of these dirty politics. Now, when they find your party, that perhaps some hopes or some glitter of decency could emerge from. And your party is also enmeshed in this kind of dirty politics.
But again, Shegun, that's why
Don't you think that it's disappointing for those who think that maybe there are alternatives?
That's why you should commend my stand as the presidential candidate of the party, that I have said I cannot go out to Nigerians and say to Nigerians, I'm here speaking against the ills in society, and I overlook what's going on in my party. That's why I don't care the relationship with Nwosu or anybody. I must defend the mandate, my mandate, and defend the constitution of my party. So you must commend me. Nigerians must commend what I'm doing. Charity begins at home, and that's what I have done. Cleanse the urgent sable. Then go out there to do what you need to do. That's what I've done. So Nigerians are going to look at our party with respect. 4 years down the line, we'll have more people coming in because they know that this party is not a party where the mandates of the candidates will be traded.
All right.
That's why this was important, Shegun.
Mr. Kachikwu, stay with me because I have a few more issues to, but I can see Professor Chidi Odinkalu looking good there on the screen. This is better. So we can then have the conversation, but we'll take a break, Prof. And when we come back, Professor Chidi Odinkalu will be speaking with me on the expectations ahead of 2023 elections. What the law says, how much can be gotten from outside of the country to fund a campaign? Can we even spend a dime or $1 outside of Nigeria for campaign in the Nigerian election? We get some clues and the quality of leadership that Nigeria needs ahead of this election in February next year. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. I was speaking earlier with Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu, who is the presidential candidate of the ADC, about the internal workings of his party. But I'm since being joined by Professor Chidi Odinkalu, a former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission and a lawyer who joins us virtually from Boston in the United States. Thank you so much, Prof. It's good to see you. The frame looks good, and you look good as well. Well, we are in the election season, and I imagine that perhaps you are non-partisan, but I don't know if you are. Don't let me assume. Are you articulated, baptized, catechukulized, or are you obedient, or you are concosia? Which one are you exactly?
I'm a prayer warrior.
Any of those, would that appear on the ballot?
Well, if you have ever followed elections in Nigeria, you know that the only registered voter in Nigeria answers to a 3-letter word, God. With God as the only voter that matters in Nigeria, all we can do is pray.
Well, that's on a very soft side of, I mean, just wanted to start the conversation of after a faulty start earlier with the connection there. But let's get serious, Prof, now. What's your ideal president of Nigeria? What does that person look like?
Well, politics, democratic politics is not a contest between good and evil. You're not looking for an ideal. You're looking to make a choice amongst real candidates, real human beings who are in front of you. If democratic politics were a choice between good and evil, it would be very easy. If it were a choice between the ideal and the deal, it would be rather pretty easy. The reality is, it's a choice between flawed human beings, imperfect choices. And that's really what makes it very exciting and also quite difficult and challenging. And sadly, that's what we are confronted with in 2023. We don't have any perfect or ideal candidate. We've got candidates who are before us. And one of them will become Nigeria's president May 29th of next year.
So you and I have had this conversation about one of those things that is keeping this nation where it is, that is not allowing it to move at a pace that it should be. And one of those, I also agree, is leadership. And at this point, there's a huge expectations on the minds of Nigerians. Economic problems, security challenges, electricity issues, and so many the issues of unity is also there. Now, anyone who becomes the next president of Nigeria is going to have on its hands a lot of work to do, a huge burden to carry. Now, give us an assessment of what the kind of choice that Nigerians should make. Can Nigerians afford a mistake this time around?
I don't think we can, actually. And, I hesitate to say this the way that it's going to come out, but Muhammadu Buhari, for those who voted for him, has been an absolute calamity. And let me repeat myself. Muhammadu Buhari has been a tragic calamity.
Is that what you mean?
That's absolutely what I mean. Yes, a tragic calamity. Now, the reality is that he's actually fulfilled his promise. He promised the country change, and he's delivered on change. And the change he's delivered has taken the country back at least 2 generations, probably up to 4 generations. And now listen, when Buhari took over power, just to illustrate, when Buhari took over power in 2015, Nigeria had about 11 to 12 million out-of-school children. According to UNESCO today, Nigeria has over 22.3 million out-of-school children. Essentially, he's grown out-of-school children year on year by about 1.5 million during a 7-year tenure. Pause and think about what that means for the country over the next 15 to 20 years. We're dealing with radicalization and insurgencies now across the board, north to south, east to west, all over the country. Think about what 22 million out-of-school children gives you in terms of radicalization, and pause for a second and contemplate the consequences of that. Now, you could go further. Central Bank, at the moment, is doing over 20 trillion in ways and means, basically printing money. Nigeria is running, we're paying salaries from printing money. Central Bank has not published audited reports since 2018. Ways and means under the Central Bank Act is not supposed to be beyond 5% of the previous year's budget, and is supposed to be retired before the end of the year. We're now doing ways and means to the extent that if it were to go onto the books of CBN will be insolvent. All right? So the next president will not have any, the next president is not going to enjoy any honeymoon because of what's happened. I'm not even going to go into insecurity, but what I basically said is exactly what I mean. The current president has been a calamity, and that's because Nigerians did not want to ask him what he meant by change. So the first thing we've got to resolve as citizens this time is ask awkward questions of whosoever is putting themselves forward. There are no messiahs around.
Now, you've seen the folks that have put themselves forward, and we need to be frank with ourselves, and I say this all the time, that for some of us, before we took up the career path that we are in, we are first of all human beings. Then we realize that we are Nigerians. And now we realize our duty and obligations to the career. For example, I'm a journalist. Before I became a journalist, I'm a human being at first. I'm a Nigerian and I'm a journalist. So I have a duty to humanity and I have a duty also to my country. Now, the question here is about humanity, is about Nigeria, and it's about our obligations as individuals, wherever role that you are playing. Now, we need to be real to ourselves. From those who are paraded themselves and put themselves forward, what if you have a checklist? Maybe give us 3. What should Nigerians be looking forward to? What are the points that they can tick in the box that will help them decide on the right person for the job?
Well, I think you've started us off on precisely the note. Number one is you've got to have a president who manifestly cares about the country and about its people. Right now, Nigerians are being killed and the president will not show up. Nigerians are wasted and the president doesn't take notice. And people are crying and weeping, and the president is traveling the world. I hear he's been turned back from one of those countries. They've told him to come back next year after he's left office or something next year. I don't have a clue. But basically, we have a president that is short on empathy, short on understanding, and short on caring. So can we start with someone who cares about the country and the coexistence of its people within the borders of Nigeria? That would be the first thing. And how can the person show up when Nigerians suffer, Nigerians cry, and just show Nigerians that we can be united in these issues of insecurity and come together to fight the insecurity that afflicts us? That's number one. Secondly, we need a president who can show up on the issue of insecurity. The current administration has been totally abysmal on insecurity. It's not had ideas. Under it, insecurity has metastasized right across the country. From the Northeast, it's now become an issue all over the country. Now, the president has not been present and he's not presided, nor has he been capable of evincing leadership on the issue of insecurity. Which candidate shows up on that issue and what are their proposals? We need a candidate that can show Nigerians that they have actually thought about the issue of insecurity and has proposals for addressing them root and branch. Number 3, the security services are at their wits' end. They can't even protect themselves anymore. You're having members of the Brigade of Guards being killed on patrol in Abuja. And the president, after they've been killed, doesn't even show up to their families to commiserate with them. He travels out of the country as we are burying officers of the Guards Brigade who are there to protect the presidency and the Federal Capital Territory. So the Federal Capital Territory is endangered as we speak. And schools in the Federal Capital Territory are being shut because we can no longer protect it. So can we have a president who is going to tell us how they are going to make the security services work? The armed forces stop fighting Nigerians and fight enemies of Nigeria. And the police is restructured in such a way that it has confidence and can protect law and order, and we begin to rebuild. 3 things to begin with. Number 1, therefore, the country and coexistence. Number 2 is the issue of insecurity. Number 3 is revitalizing the armed services and security services. Can we start with those before we even get to economy? Because if the country does not exist, you have no economy to speak about.
Now, one critical issue here is, so I know a lot of people now will be watching and trying to make up their minds whether or not some of the people they have in mind to vote for fit into those boxes. Because what we're trying to do is also to educate Nigerians on the choices before them and their own civic responsibility. If they have their voter's card, sometimes you have an item that you don't know the use. Now, it's important that people need to know that on election day, they cannot sit at home and watch television. They have to get out there and exercise their civic responsibility. It's very important. We are at that point in this country that people need to rise up and play their own roles in wherever way they can. Now, in all of this, how do we then identify people who have these qualities? Is it by antecedent or what they say? In fact, some people will not say anything.
There's a lot you've said, and I want to try and pause and take them one after the other. I think the PVC is extraordinarily important. And it's good that many people have it now, tens of millions of Nigerians. But the most important thing is an INEC that works, an INEC that is credible. Again, much to my regret, I don't think the current INEC is squaring with Nigerians or being honest. And I really have my doubts as to whether the current INEC can deliver a credible election under the current leadership. I say that with much regret, but I'll give you my reasons. Now, you've listened to President Buhari say that he will guarantee the credibility of the next elections next year. That is exhibit number one. Under Nigerian law, the president does not have the capacity to guarantee the integrity of any election. That is not his business at all. When the fact that the president can say that he can guarantee the integrity of next year's election is reason to know that INEC is not independent. And INEC has not said a word about the fact that the president has effectively expropriated their responsibility. The only entity under Nigerian law that can or should guarantee the independence of the elections is INEC. But INEC has not said anything. So that's exhibit number one. Number two, as we speak here, there are many parts of Nigeria in which INEC cannot safely deploy election workers. You know, I can mention a few places, but that's not necessary. You and I know that the governor of Kaduna State has written to the president to say that Ansaru, for instance, is establishing a parallel government, stopping people from campaigning and expropriating and extorting people for taxation in parts of Kaduna State, from Birnin-Gwari in the north to Jema'a in the south, and that's in southern Kaduna. That means that INEC may not be able to deploy election workers in a lot of those places. There are lots of other places in the northeast, parts of the northwest, in Imo State, indeed in Uru East, the local government of the Imo State governor. INEC cannot safely deploy election workers. But INEC claims to all of us that it can organize elections and manufacture results from 774 local government areas in Nigeria. That is manifestly untrue. If you're going to have credible elections, INEC has to be able to tell you where it will not honestly be able to do elections. It's not able to do that. It's not willing to do that. Number three, there is something called BVAS, and INEC is telling us that that is the magic that will guarantee the credibility of the next elections. But BVAS is dependent on broadband. And we know that broadband penetration in Nigeria as we speak does not go further than 55 to 57%. Essentially, somewhere between 40 and 45% of the country does not have broadband, is either in 2G or 3G territory or poor 3G territory, and will not be able to support the deployment of BVAS. Without manual override and no directions as to how to operate it, BVAS will not cover those black spots, the 40 to 45% where you don't have broadband. How will BVAS work there? INEC is not telling us. So first of all, as important as PVC is, can we ask INEC to be honest with Nigerians even before we start asking questions of the candidates? We need to ask questions of the candidates, but we need to ask even more serious questions of INEC under the current leadership.
Prof, I'd like to go into election financing and what the Constitution and the Electoral Act says, but it's going to be very a quick one. But I have a very short question. Do you see a tight race, with the crop of presidential candidates that we have and their political parties, the ethnic strongholds that they have presently? For those who think that this election may not even be decided on the first ballot, what do you see in your political reading of it?
No, the elections will be decided on one ballot. We are not going to have an election into the second ballot. I'll wager everything on that. You're not going to, all the calculus, all the people, and I've heard a lot of that about it will go into a second ballot. It won't. Believe me. I'm not a betting person, so I will not tell you I'll bet anything on that, but I'm quite confident that the elections will be decided on the first ballot. It's probably going to be competitive in many ways, yes, but also when you look at this underlying landscape, I think that a lot of people have made assumptions that may not be fulfilled. I don't want to go into those details here because I don't think that that's fair on the program. But one thing is very important. 2023 is will be the first time in 20 years that Muhammadu Buhari will not be on the ballot. Now, that opens up the northwest of the country, and these elections will be decided in the northwest. That's the other thing I think people have to know. Because Buhari is not on the ballot, Atiku comes from the northeast. Shetima comes from the northeast. Peter Obi comes from the southeast. Tinubu comes from the southwest. The North Central has always been the bellwether in many ways of all electoral contests in the country. And the South-South has been somewhat closely aligned with the Southeast historically. The Northwest is the new territory in this election. It has about 23% of the votes on offer, over 22 million voters, and no Muhammadu Buhari. The question, therefore, is, are his votes assignable? That will be determined on the 25th of February next year.
Prof, my final question is in relation to a piece that you wrote that I came across. You wrote and you said, we will end foreign money in Nigeria's elections. Perhaps more than before.
That was in June.
Yeah, you wrote it a few months back. This is also coming at the time that there is a huge diaspora interest in the Nigerian elections. And the Labour Party, for example, we had them on the program and said, we are going to get contributions, an open portal, and people will be able to donate. Foreign money, the Nigerian law. Give us an insight into it. We just have about 60 seconds or thereabout.
Which will not be enough to deal with foreign money. But when you look at sections 225B and I believe 85B of the Constitution, 225B of the Constitution and 85B of the Electoral Act, you understand that really the challenge of foreign money is gray. It's about gray money. It's not black or white under Nigerian law. What the Constitution prohibits parties from doing is retaining foreign funds or assets. It doesn't really say that foreign money should not be in Nigerian law or in Nigerian politics, or that such money should not be deployed towards elections. Unfortunately, it could have said that, but stopped far short of saying that, which means that people can root the money in and use it for their political purposes as long as it doesn't go into the party's political parties' finances or accounts. Then that is in strict legalism quite fine. But I don't want to describe myself as a Nigerian lawyer. I used to be a lawyer a long time ago. I no longer know what judges do in Nigeria. So don't take my word for it. Ask the senior advocates of Nigeria, the people who make money from answering lawyers in Nigeria.
So foreign donations can be accepted. Is that what you're saying?
I want to be careful about what I say. Foreign donations can be used to finance electoral operations in Nigeria as long as they do not go into the coffers, official coffers of political parties. If a political party accepts foreign donations under the Constitution and the Electoral Act, it commits a crime, and it is obliged to return that money and suffer a penalty of up to 5 million naira. But it does not have to accept the money into its account. Other people can use those monies and achieve its objectives. And that's the point I'm making.
So the law also talks about assets. So,
yes.
I mean, if there's a funding of an asset, because it talks about funds or assets. So if you get a funding for assets also for the election, it then causes a breach of the Constitution in the 225.
If it goes into the accounts of the party. So if you are one party, I'm another party, and we maintain accounts, people put money into us, that's one thing. If, however, we have friends who are using their funds to make sure that our causes are advanced, there isn't anything that the law says about that. That's the gray area I'm talking about.
Professor Chidi Odikalu, it's good to see you. Thank you so much. It does look like the weather there in Boston is doing you very well. It's looking very fresh and scintillating in your face there as much as you can see. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight. Yeah, I appreciate it. Mr. Kachikwu, just 30 seconds. Your final thought. What's the way forward for your party?
Like I said, my party is in a healing process right now. We'll move beyond this. We're focused on talking and providing solutions for the myriad issues that are facing Nigerians. So the issues and some of the issues enumerated by Prof just now. That's what my focus is. That's what the focus of the party is right now. Like I said to you, we now depend on news organizations like yours to help us deepen democracy as we move forward in asking the right questions, pointing Nigerians in the right direction, and I believe that you guys are doing a good job in that direction.
Well, the next time we'll be talking to you on this program, definitely I hope that it will be about what you want to do for Nigerians should you be elected president.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu for clearing the air on these issues. But that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.